Today, I'm joined by a longtime friend of mine, an incredible artist, Dylan Owen. Welcome to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast.
What's good, my dude?
Bro,
glad to be here.
First of all, I saw you at your show last night. Super crushed it. Bro, I haven't seen you perform since I think the first time we met, which is crazy, which in theory means I haven't seen you. Have we seen each other?
We've definitely seen each other, yeah.
Where have I seen you?
Man, I'm trying to think of where.
Because sometimes with internet friends, it's weird, where it's like you don't see people for
No, we've seen each other at something, at some show.
I'm trying to think. So today is 12 years, though, since the Webster Hall show, where I know I met you.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was like looking at the lineup today, too, and it was like, it was Kinetics and One Love on that show, too. High Res. And then Bo Young Prince, too.
Oh, well, yeah. Wow.
Who I ended up touring with later on because he opened up for Watsky on tour.
Cool.
So
I remember that.
Yeah, but I just couldn't believe, I don't know. I feel like so much time has gone by, dude.
Dude, so much time. Feels like lifetimes, but at the same time, we're all still grinding. So, yeah, crazy. Very trippy. You were like a little kid to me then.
I do. Well, you know what's funny about that show, and I said this to you last night, and I try, it's funny when you have a podcast, you try to keep some of the conversation beforehand, but that was the first show that I ever filmed on stage technically.
That's insane, man.
Yeah.
You'll probably always remember that then.
Yeah. I always tell people it was this, because there was two, but I think technically that was the first one because that was December 2012, and there was a Big Sean show that I filmed early on too, but that was one of the ones, dude. And I remember there being a cipher in the back after the show.
I don't remember that for some reason.
Long time ago, dude.
Yeah.
But it was
I remember that room, though, the green room there very well.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for tuning in to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. You can support by subscribing on YouTube or downloading on your preferred podcast platform. And definitely go do that because it helps us grow and I can have more incredible guests on the podcast. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover DistroKid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, DistroKid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists who trust DistroKid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and so many others. Having personally used DistroKid since 2018, I can attest to their superiority amongst distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with the ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the DistroKid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with two-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your DistroKid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications, effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional-grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators, producers, and more. The DistroKid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download it today from the App Store or Google Play Store to revolutionize your music career. Visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to get 30% off your first year membership. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. So right now you're on tour again.
Dude, on tour again, yeah. I mean, I don't really know even where to start because it's been forever since then. But yeah, on tour again. It's been great so far. New Haven last night, Boston a few nights ago, Greenfield, Massachusetts in between, New York tomorrow night, and then Philly. So it's a short little Northeast run.
No, it's really good. And, you're born and raised in New York.
Yes.
Can you tell me what it was like growing up for you, dude? Because I don't even know if I know that all the way.
Yeah. So I'm from a few hours north of the city. Everybody where I'm from calls it upstate New York. And it's a lot of farmland, small town, sleepy town kind of area. I lived in Goshen and Middletown, and now Chester is where my mom lives. So yeah, kind of little sleepy towns around there. Probably not too different than where you grew up or a lot of the U.S. Yeah, very laid back area. For being only a few hours outside of the city, people who haven't been to New York would be surprised as to how rural it is. It really is the country kind of.
Yeah. So what point are you getting into music, dude? And how does where does your love for music come from? And were there a lot of people in your area that were doing music?
Definitely not a lot of people, and definitely not really a music scene, especially not a hip hop scene. But all right, so the origin of it, I was really into drawing. That was my first love. So in let's say first grade through 5th or 6th grade, I was obsessed with drawing. that kind of, preceded music as like my passion that I was obsessed with. So I'd be drawing for like 8 hours a day, whatever. And then I got really into the WWE, wrestling. And then after that, music was the next phase. And to me, it was, I guess the WWE is kind of like a tangent, but it was like drawing into music was one creative through line. And those to me felt connected. I always liked words and writing and poetry. And I liked the stuff I would hear on the radio that like caught my ear. And in terms of like music around me that inspired me, my older brother played guitar and is still to this day amazing at guitar. And he would play in hardcore bands and punk bands like locally. So there was a little bit of a scene in that kind of music. And I would go to those shows a lot. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, like admiring my older brother and his friends at shows. So
I got a couple questions.
Cool.
Do you remember some of the stuff that you were drawing?
Yeah, completely. I remember in depth. I would have characters that I would come up with and make, and then I'd write stories with them, like comic books. So they'd be like homemade comic books with staples on the side and all that. And yeah, they were like superhero adjacent, like Marvel-esque, Marvel wannabe characters.
It's crazy because I have like a very similar, dude, I used to have like printer paper book that I would just keep adding to with staples, dude. But it was like a book of all these like little monsters. And like, I think it was kind of inspired by like Lilo and Stitch or like maybe like a Pokemon or something like that.
Nice. Yeah.
But no, it's weird to hear like, you know, other people that have like similar paths of like, you know, artistic traits before they're even getting into music and things like that.
Yeah.
Another thing, you know, the WWE World Headquarters is 5 minutes that way.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Dude.
Wow.
You should go take a picture with the belt, dude. It's like,
dude, I would love to. I had the fake belts when I was a kid.
Yeah, dude. Where do you think your love for WWE came from?
Man, where would that have come from? Well, also X-Men was a big thing, like right before WWE. I don't know. To me, they're like humans who are superheroes, and I could probably articulate it better if I think more about it. But I think there's something like wrestlers and rappers, like they're like humans who have superhero qualities, kind of in a way. But I specifically loved Rey Mysterio, who wears the mask, of course, and yeah, I felt like he really felt like a superhero on Earth.
Yeah. You said articulate, and you know, it's funny. That's like a word I would use to describe you, dude, because you do. I feel like even in your music, you articulate very well, dude.
Thank
you know,
man.
like even when I was watching you perform last night, like your messages are powerful, dude.
Thank you, bro.
And it's not even just your message, but like how you present them and your cadences, and you know what you're saying in your music really has a message. Like I don't think you're getting a lot of like filler stuff when you listen to Dylan Owen. You're listening to like someone who, like. Why is that important to you in your music, and where do you think that comes from?
Great question.
Thank you, dude.
To me, that's all I ever want my music to be, like the filler stuff, and everything else is, just kind of extra if it comes along, like if a song is catchy, whatever. But yeah, being substantial to me is cathartic and therapeutic, and yeah, it's just the way I like honestly express, I guess, my perception of the world, my life experiences, my reflections on the world. I feel like I can say what I want to say and talk about my feelings in my writing and music more than I can in real life day to day with people. So it kind of, maybe especially when I was younger, like it felt like an outlet to do that, and also an outlet to focus. So I could like focus on like one song for a long time and chip away at it, just like drawing. And that I've always liked that because I have a kind of like, my brain is always very stimulated.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm going to pull it back a little bit.
Cool.
Like to getting into music, right? So, you know, what does recording for you look like in the beginning? And, you know, what point do things start to level up for you?
Yeah. All right. So I'll try to like start from the very beginning. So I'm just like drawing, you know, just a fan of music, that kind of thing. And then my parents split up, and through that, there was a group of guys I would hang out with, like kind of through my family. And one of them was older, and he was really into hip hop and really into freestyling. And he was like 21 at the time, and I was like, I don't know, 13 or something like that. And so I thought it was the coolest thing in the world to see him freestyle. And he was like, man, I have a recommendation for you. If you want to get into hip hop, go to Best Buy and buy the CD. It's by a group called Black Star. And so I went to Best Buy. I was in like this 6th grade, maybe 5th grade, and bought the Black Star CD, Most Def and Talib Kweli. And that was like the first hip hop CD that I bought with my own money. And what I feel like I loved about it was the poetic side. It was like I could hear the writing as more, I don't know, more than just a fan, whatever, like painting a visual picture. So I loved that. And then that slowly led to like me writing poetry. And then I was discovering a lot of underground hip hop, like Immortal Technique. I was huge on back then. And yeah, went to like an Immortal Technique show on like a school night in, my first few months of high school, and got my CD signed. And I thought like that was the coolest thing. So all of that led to me just writing poetry, and eventually it turned into like, let me just record some of this on Audacity with like an instrumental that I ripped from the internet. And yeah, kind of like a weird like spoken word hip hop sort of thing in the beginning. And then it just developed. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when you first made that song, who are you showing this song? Like, are you putting it out on the internet? Like,
no, honestly, it was just making this stuff for myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't showing anyone, especially the first things I wrote. I genuinely was writing as like my own writing exercise based on what I was hearing that inspired me. And if it was like, a flow or something gets stuck in my head, or a certain type of punchline I find very entertaining, I don't know, it kind of fascinated me. It's like, why is that so entertaining? And then I'd want to emulate it and write like that.
So at what point are you starting to share it with the world?
Okay, so then 8th grade into 9th grade, I recorded some like really, really crappy demo called The Introduction. And it was like an Alchemist beat that I ripped off the internet, and then strings, like violins from the Romeo and Juliet movie soundtrack and as the intro. And they were like in the same key, so they kind of blended. And it was like spoken word and then rapping when the Alchemist part comes in. And this was the first thing that I uploaded to MySpace between 8th and 9th grade. And it really was like just for me. And I showed like a couple friends at school, but it was kind of like private feeling almost in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I gotta say though, context too is at this time I was already rap battling locally, because people like my town, as I said, there wasn't too much of a scene of music. So like, oh, you rap. People hear that locally. They're not thinking like he's a songwriter, they're thinking, oh, you got to battle. You got to prove yourself. Yeah. So it was already like just doing like silly local battles at school. And yeah, so people knew about that, but they didn't know about like the more emotional songs.
Yeah. What would you say your first moment of success was in music?
First moment of success. I mean, maybe I have a different answer now as an adult, because it's like I see little entrepreneurial things I did without even realizing it. But I guess the very first one is I did a show at a coffee shop called Noble Coffee Roasters in Goshen, New York. And this was my CD release show for like an EP that I did back then called The Living Inverse. And it was all so DIY, but I brought 60 people to this show, and it was like a very small coffee shop, and it just was like the best night of my life. So that to me felt like success, like all my friends from school and strangers, and had my buddy A-Game who rapped come and make a guest appearance. So that was like amazing to me.
Yeah. So the first time, I met you technically, 12 years ago today.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the first time I heard of you, because, I was like looking at these music blogs, back when they were very popular, and one of them was Good Music All Day. How do you get to a point where you're posting your music online and you're starting to get picked up by all these internet blogs, and how does that happen?
Okay, so the context that I feel like doesn't even exist on the internet is like the whole local journey that I had from like 9th grade to 12th grade. I was playing a lot of shows at any coffee shop or open mic that I could play around there, and that was kind of the scene. And the first thing I would do is I'd perform with an acoustic guitar player who was a good friend of mine, and my older brother's one of his best buddies. And we would just do like this weird like acoustic rap kind of duo thing. And I would just hit open mics and coffee shops and whatever. So slowly built up friends and fans that would come out to my shows through that. And then that led to performing like in the more regional area, like in Poughkeepsie, New York. There was a venue I used to go to, and I did a battle of the bands there. This is my senior year of high school. A battle of the bands where the winner got to play at the Bamboozle Music Festival. Do you know what that is?
I'm not familiar.
Okay.
Bamboozle. Is that the one? That's not the one that's in Seattle, right?
No, this might just be like a Northeast thing. I don't really know.
It
but
sounds familiar.
It's like I would assume it's much smaller than like Coachella or something.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those, right?
It's upstate New York?
They have it in New Jersey, but I
Okay.
think they had a few locations.
Okay,
So
cool.
anyway, the winner got to play Bamboozle.
You know,
and-
I do know Bamboozle.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
I
yeah.
can see their logo in my head now, too.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's around anymore. But anyway, I was one of the winners of this contest. So I got to open this stage at Bamboozle. And dude, the people, it's such a small world, man. The people I opened for there, Greaves, Spose, Wiz Khalifa, 88 Keys, like, I don't know, just a crazy roster of people who went on to do all different kinds of things.
Amazing, dude.
Yeah, so that was my senior year of high school. That was insane. And then all at this time, to get back to your question, I wasn't even aware of music blogs or anything like that. I was like an underground hip hop fan. Like, to me,
You were
I don't
just
know.
doing your own thing.
Doing my own thing, dude. I was not thinking, like, I didn't have like a lot of plays on MySpace, or it wasn't like that.
And you were super young at the time, too.
Very
like,
young.
still in high school.
Yeah.
Like, most people don't have that many shows under their belt, you know, ever, really.
Yeah, I was like driving around with a PA system and like performing kind of wherever I could. So it was really just scrappy, sort of like almost creating my own little hip hop community, or, you know, finding it wherever I could. Was not thinking about the internet really in any way. Like, I remember my buddy Tom, shout out Tom Flynn. He was like, man, you should make a Facebook page so that people like know when you're performing, and, you know, then people can like follow you. And I was like, oh, okay. So I like made a Facebook fan page because of that. And same with the YouTube channel. Like, I used to just upload my stuff on his YouTube. Like, I wasn't really, I don't know what the bread and butter was back then in my mind. Maybe it was like selling CDs. That was probably the big thing. So selling CDs and having people come to shows. So I go to college, my freshman year of college. I meet my boy Mike, who's still to this day one of my best friends, and he became my first manager. And he introduced me to the whole world of music blogs. He's like, dude, there's a whole community of people who share music, and they might like your stuff. Like, I think I was maybe a little different than some of the blog music, because mine was a little more like underground alt rap stuff, but it somehow worked, and met a lot of amazing people through that. So that's how I kind of like found that scene.
Yeah. Do you remember any moments after that were game changing for you?
Just in general, or like around that blog?
Around that blog era time.
Dude, so many moments, so many. Opening for Mac Miller is probably the key
that's
one.
Insane.
Yeah. So open for him around like Blue Slide Park had just come out, and this was in Ithaca at the Ithaca State Theater in upstate New York. And to this day, like, probably the most fun I've ever had at a live show.
Did you get a chance to kick it with him, or like, was it?
I got to say what's up. Like, we didn't interact more than just like, yo, what's up, man? Like, I'm Dylan Owen. Yeah. And he's just like, hey, what's up? But yeah, he seemed friendly. And this was like a fancy venue where you could have like a Broadway play, like everybody had their own dressing room. And we were all downstairs, and he was telling us like, come in and eat like this catering I got, like fried chicken and salad and everything. So we were eating that. And yeah, it was cool, man. That was really cool.
Yeah. Do you have like, so let's keep going down the timeline, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would you say your like biggest moment of success was, like moving down the timeline, or like first time you saw like your songs getting like plays online?
Well, all right. I guess like one thing I want to say is the plays online to me they weren't so much like what I thought, like, oh man, this feels like something that I'm really excited about and I want to do for my life. Like, I already had that in my mind from the excitement of like shows and people being at shows and selling CDs, playing the music festival. At the music festival, we printed out a ton of like a demo version of my CDs. And it's funny now, like, they weren't even the final mixes, let alone mastered. These were not even the final mixes of the track. They had like, I still had mix notes, but I was handing those out to so many people, and all my friends helped. And yeah, so I think there was already an excitement there before I had seen any numbers. Like, I actually thought of myself at the time, like, oh, I'll probably never have any numbers online or whatever. So that really wasn't on my mind too much. I think a big moment was, I think it was my freshman year of college. A girl that I didn't know from Washington State sent me a photo of her, and she had gotten a tattoo of my lyrics on her shoulder blades, like across her back. And it was a song that was like really special to me. And I didn't even know how she found it either. Like, must have truly just been through like word of mouth. So that to me, I was like, this feels crazy. Like, just to get this in my website response form kind of thing. So I remember moments like that, I think, carry more weight than the numbers.
Yeah, and the thing too is like, I mean, especially with your music, like it shows how powerful it is because I know that just from following you through the years, I've seen so many Dylan Owen tattoos due to your lyrics and stuff. Like, you know, what's that feeling? Just constantly over and over.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. And to me, it shows it goes beyond the computer and the internet and beyond social media. That's like a real, obviously permanent connection. So I don't take that lightly at all. And a lot of people have asked me like, oh, can you do it in your handwriting? And that is a huge honor. So yeah, I take it like really seriously, and I try to put a lot of thought into like what kind of writing do they want, script or this or that, or what makes sense with the lyric. So yeah, it's insane, man. That to me is like means more than any numbers I could ever get.
Yeah. What is like the most important thing to you when creating music and just being in music?
Well, someday I hope I can like see beyond whatever. I don't know, whatever with the context, but to me, it still is like very much just about expressing myself. Like that really is the goal I always have. And that's why something I want to somehow address in here is there were big gaps in between all my releases. I don't know if you like are aware of that or not, but like 2012, I put out Keep Your Friends Close. Then I didn't drop anything till 2015. Then I didn't drop anything till 2019. So it's like, yeah, I've been at it a long time, but I haven't actually had that many releases. And part of that is because I always was really chasing down, like, I want this to be like a masterpiece of my own, like self-expression or whatever. And yeah, you can get a little carried away in that. And I think I have, but.
Are you somebody who like struggles with like perfection?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like perfection, right? Because I think I would play it for somebody else and show them the things I'm stuck on, and they would be like, it literally makes no difference to me. But I think it is the perfectionist problem where it's like, I get fixated on one thing, and I think that it has more meaning than it does. Like, oh, there's this thing that's not perfect in the mix or whatever. And some of it too, man, that slowed me down over those years was just, and I'm just kind of riffing at this point, but things that slowed me down were like logistical things with production, especially because like all my songs are very DIY. It was me and my buddy Nico, shout out Skinny Atlas from high school, and we were producing everything together. And there'd be something like, I always give this example. It'd be like somebody comes over to record a guitar part, and the guitar is the main thing in the song, and it's a little bit out of tune. And then we try to add other stuff, and we realize it was out of tune, like in tune with itself, but detuned, you know? And then yeah, it's just like, then we're like, oh man, someday we got to replace this. And it's like things like that would just slow stuff down over the years. Yeah. So like real classic, like DIY music problems, I think.
It's interesting to hear this too, because, you know, earlier you talked about handing out your demo with unfinished mixes to like, you know, getting to a point where it's like, you know, I want this to be a masterpiece, you know? It's funny.
That's insightful. Yeah.
When you said like, you know, when you said you were handing out demos with unfinished mixes, I'm like, yeah, why can't we do that? You know what I mean? But like, you totally can. Like, but I think as you get older, like, you just want things to get like, and you've been in the game, you kind of just want things to only the final product to show. But like, what I've learned with like mixing and mastering, like a lot of time, like the people listening don't care, dude. It's just like I sent my sister the unmixed version, the mixed version, the mastered version, and she's like, why do you keep sending me the same song? Like, I'm like, oh no, it's different. And she's like, no, it's not. But I mean, there is like, you know what I mean? I always see it differently, but the point I'm trying to get to is like some of the things that we hyper focus on in the big picture sometimes aren't that big of a deal.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I think over the last few years I've tried to let go of a lot of that. So I think I've like come fully back around to like right now, I definitely would drop a demo of unmixed stuff. And it's kind of like literally what I'm doing right now with my mixtapes is dropping stuff that is still in progress. So I've come back around on it. I think, yeah, it did reach a point where it was just like, it shouldn't be this hard to just make music that I like, you know?
Yeah. You know what we can do? Let's start with Keep Your Friends Close and kind of walk through your discography.
Cool.
What's something that you learned from each era?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it. Something that I learned from each era. So Keep Your Friends Close. I think with that, I reflect a lot on, that was the first release that I did really as like an internet mixtape And I think I first released it on either Hulkshare or Mediafire, one of those websites. And I don't know, that opened up my mind because down to the last minute, like I think it was like an hour before the release, I had announced the time and date in advance. And like an hour before the release, I was still getting the cover edited with the graphic designer. And I remember thinking like, this is like crazy. It shouldn't be this last minute, but it somehow worked out fine. And even like, I think I had some things spelled wrong in the lyric booklet when it first went up. And then I later was able to just revise it and just change the link. So I don't know, I guess maybe like some lesson about the fleeting nature of things or whatever, or just how music is consumed so differently, like over different eras. So that was that. Keep your friends close. So then let's jump to the next one. There's More to Life. So this is now 2015. This project I made mostly in my mom's living room in upstate New York. I had moved back home after college for a couple years. And this, I went really deep into like my kind of multi-syllable rhyming stuff and maybe got a little too obsessive with some of that. And yeah, I don't know that, I don't know what I learned from that one besides, okay, maybe my takeaway looking back is the stuff felt a little bleak to me at the moment, like the things I was writing. And I was kind of there was a lot of like, family stuff, personal stuff going on around me. And it was bleeding over into the writing. And I remember like not wanting that. My whole life, it's weird. You hear my music, you're probably like, oh, it's like such like always going through something. But it's like, no, I'm trying to like just make good music. But the real life things bleed their way in. And with There's More to Life, I was just like, all right, at a certain point, I'm just going to say like, just going to talk about my emotions, what I'm going through. And people really liked it and really, really seemed to vibe with it. So that to me felt validating. And I was like, okay, I can make like more alternative stuff. And it doesn't need to be something that is, I assume it's palatable for some reason or something.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me, dude.
Yeah.
And then I want to keep on going down.
Okay, keep on going down. And cut me off, I'm getting too long-winded.
No, I'm listening, dude.
Okay,
Yeah,
2019, Holes in Our Stories. This is a weird one, and all my fans are always joking. Like somebody at the show the other night, when I was on stage, they were like, do you hate Holes in Our Stories? And like, I don't hate it. What happened is, I wanted to make some like crazy masterpiece, and I had this idea for all the songs to connect with different metaphors, and a metaphor in like song 1 would connect to song 5 and all this stuff. And also for the first time, I wanted to make videos for every song too, and also wanted to write a little short book to go with it. So I self-published a short book, and the album and the book and everything during that era is all about this relationship that I had, a long distance relationship that I got really caught up in, and I was hung up on the relationship for a long time. And I wanted to like finally put it to rest and not write about it anymore. So I was like, I'm just going to write it as an actual story, get it out of my system. And there's something cathartic about like telling other people about it in like really plain words. So I wrote about that. And then also my grandpa passing away, he ran a print shop. He was a printer and used to like print my CD booklets and stuff in upstate New York. And he came to some of my rap battles and stuff. So he passed away, and I was thinking back on this relationship and how it all connected. Like he drove me to the airport and like taught me how to drive for the first time on that drive to drop me off to go visit this girl. Like it was like everything was connected. So I tried to do that through the songs. Have no idea if I succeeded or not. I don't know. You'll have to tell me, but did that, put out the book, and really obsessed over it. And that's why it took me 4 years. So
yeah, I was going to say like, is there like, what's one of the bigger struggles that you had to face in your career?
I think the biggest struggle overall is, I think about this, not just me, like almost every artist, is just lack of like funding. Like doing everything myself always leads to, and when I say myself, I mean like finding like a friend to help with this or that, or doing things the DIY way. Things are, it's hard.
It's expensive, dude.
Yeah. The easiest way is like you have $1 million budget from a label or an investor or something, and you can just then go like buy the nice equipment. I'm always like, man, let me get like the absolute cheapest thing, and I'll work 10 times as hard and make this sound amazing somehow. And
were you ever on a label?
No, I was never on a label.
It's funny that you say that.
I have some stories though.
But I was going to say like, because every time I've seen your stuff though, everything's always been from just a consumer side. It always looks A1 quality, dude. Like your photos, your branding.
Coming from you, man. Thank you.
But no, thank you, dude. But no, it just like looks really good, and like you wouldn't know. And I think most people consuming the music can't even tell the difference a lot of time. But you just said you had a couple stories. Is there anything you could share?
Yeah, totally, dude. So I did one of those like independent TED Talks about this too, and the whole thing I did about this story. So this is another reason between Keep Your Friends Close, 2012, and 2015, There's More to Life, an A&R at Atlantic Records found me. Atlantic Records. And found me and found me on YouTube. And it was like your kind of like classic dream scenario, I guess. Like discovered me on YouTube through like a freestyle I posted or something, and straight up called me on my cell phone out of the blue. And yeah, I don't know. That basically led to me having this relationship with them and sending them songs. And the idea was like, if I made the right song, they were going to sign me. And I was like, man, I feel like my stuff's a little too alternative for this, like with the artists at the time on Atlantic and everything. But I don't know, I wanted to give it a shot. And also they would send me beats that were like a beat that like Lupe Fiasco would use later or somebody big would use later. So I was excited about that too. Like the beat sounded amazing. And so I was trying to write that stuff and record songs, and I was recording with my roommate in college, and it was a crazy time sending them this music. And it went on for like 2 years, and the music I just felt like got worse and worse. None of this came out, so nobody's ever like heard these songs, but I felt like the music that I was making in this vacuum I wasn't feeling it. They weren't feeling it by the end. It wasn't working out. And then that's when I came out with just a song called The Window Seat that I'm definitely proud of. And I was like, man, I love the independent route. And that's where I really it reinforced my feeling of wanting to be independent. Do you feel that those label songs didn't work out because you were trying to do you feel like you were trying to make a song that would work for them in your eyes, or like? Yeah, essentially, yeah. Like it was weird. It started out like, yo, we want you to just do exactly what you do, your storytelling, your lyrics, your deep lyrics, but just do it over our beats. And I was like, okay, that's easy. And I felt like I did exactly that. And then the feedback would be, yeah, but can you like maybe change this one lyric so that people know what you're talking about here and it's not just metaphorical? And I was, okay, let me try that. And then eventually it was like so many revisions that it's like, I don't even know who this artist is that's on the song anymore. Yeah. To me, like I hear stories about this all the time too, because it's like, you know, if you're signing a deal or something, you just want to be the artist you want to be. Like you don't want to have to conform yourself to, I'm sure, the pop song that Atlantic would try to eventually push it to. You know what I mean? Yeah, bro. And it was weird. I was kind of aware of it the whole time too, and like to their credit, like they would ask me, they're like, yo, just to clarify, like you could see your stuff being on the radio, right? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. I don't know. Like, how would I say no to that? You know, every artist wants that. But a big piece I'm leaving out is, so I got flown out to LA to have a meeting with this huge music executive. And I thought it was like, man, we just need to meet face to face and I'm going to get signed. And I've like curated my outfit and like, just feel like I'm walking into like the dopest meeting of all time. And I get in there and we meet, and it's like at the label office, and I could just tell like he didn't really care what was going on. He didn't care about, you know, what I have. Named 5 songs, dude. Could not. Yeah, he couldn't sit through a song. It was like that kind of kind of vibe. And after like 60 seconds, I played him my song In the Corner, and he's like, yeah, pretty cool. And he's like, yo, actually, I have a meeting. I gotta go. I was like, all right. And he just like got up and left. Damn, dude. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. So I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. I was like, oh shit. But it was like a disillusionment. Like this is not what I had built it up to be in my head. I'll censor the name because I'll say it. Was it? Yeah. I knew it, Have dude. You interacted with him? I have, dude. Yeah. I knew it. The second you said it, dude, I'm so excited for people to not hear whose name that was and it be censored now. But yeah, I've heard some messed up stuff. Yeah, I've had one interaction with them, but it's very similar to what you're saying, where it's like it felt very robotic. Like, you know what I mean? You know, sometimes when you meet with these labels, like, because they're all businesses, right? And like, especially with the type of music you make too, like, I just feel like your shit comes from the soul, dude, the heart. They like,
they're just like, yo, give me the pop hit with Wiz Khalifa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's just a different ball game.
Different ball game. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And I'm I don't know, I'm an ambitious guy, right? So I'm like, oh man, I want to like play that ball game and this one and that one and whatever. So I was really trying to like succeed at that. And I don't know. I think it was that specific. Those specific songs I was working on were just not it. So,
but I think a big takeaway from this podcast too, and for any artist listening, because there's artists out there that are chasing these labels that probably shouldn't be chasing these labels, dude. You know what I mean? And the fact that you can do it yourself, and there's a lot of value in doing it yourself. If you can figure out a way where it works for you, you might be happier in the long run, because a label, you might get the label deal and realize, oh shit, this is not for me.
Yeah, I think I didn't even really understand what I would have gotten out of a label deal. And I feel like now that I know more about how artists can operate, it's like, all right, I really just wanted more of a team and a platform. And something that really I didn't like looking back about their perspective is I had around 10,000 fans on Facebook at the time. I remember that. And they were like, oh, don't worry about that. You don't need to post and like update them on anything. And I was like, well, it's been like a month. I feel like I should write something. And they'd be like, no, dude, you're going to have millions of fans. You don't need to post for those 10,000. And I feel like that's like the complete opposite perspective that I have.
It really is, dude. It's funny that you say that, because it's like at the end of the day, no one knows Dylan Owen's ship better than you, dude. Like, you know how to steer that thing and exactly where it should go because you understand it. It's like, if you spend all the time curating, like, I don't think it's a Tim Weber quote, but I think he said it to me, who someone else said, but you don't need all the fans in the world. You get 10,000 fans that can put $100 into you a year, and it's $1 million before tax.
Yeah, completely, bro. And even like when I feel like I don't know where to steer the ship, because like almost now in my career, like I feel like I don't always know where to steer it, but if I just listen to my gut, it kind of always works out. So it's like, I guess inherently I do know, but yeah, I think just like following your heart, it really does lead to the right thing.
And I think doing that, like, not to sound all cliche, but that's where you're going to be the happiest too, because you're going to create a life for yourself that you're like, oh, this is exactly what I don't want to be cranking out these super label pop hits. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, we were talking like off the pod. Me and a buddy were talking the other day about like sometimes an artist will have a song that gets really big that they don't really like or stand by. And then their whole career, they have to perform that song.
It's funny because earlier in this podcast, you mentioned Lupe Fiasco, and he's an example of an artist. You know, I know he doesn't, me being the middle schooler, high schooler that I was, loved The Show Goes On. You know what I mean? But then you come to find out, he's like, I hate that song. He doesn't want to ever perform it. And it's just like, to me, it's just crazy though, because what artist wants to be in a position where it's like, yo, I hate my most popular song, dude?
Yeah, it is crazy. And I think the only way around it is like, you got to stand by everything that you put out.
Yeah.
And not try to like pander to any kind of imaginary audience. That's what bothered me so much about the time when I was writing with the label was like, we are like literally we're making up what we think somebody's going to like. And also I remember there's another crazy thing. So I was like, oh yeah, there are these guys, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. They're kind of like, one of my biggest inspirations. And they were like, oh, we know those guys. They're way too indie. They're never going to go anywhere. And obviously
you don't have to finish that. Yeah, we know what happened, dude.
Yeah. So, and then like a year later too, they were like, oh, you should make some stuff like Macklemore. Like now he's huge.
Because this is also a fun thing we could talk about, because at the end of the day, they don't know what the hell is going on, dude. Because the thing is, all these labels, and especially now with like TikTok and, Reels, everything popping off, and like the way the internet is, they're chasing the trends. You know what I mean? They're no longer the trends. When they were the main source of music and radio and everything, then they created the trends. But now it's like, oh, this type beat is going viral now. Let's get one to Dylan Owen so he can get an, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's like a cash grab thing for them.
Yeah.
And they're running a business. As you said, it's a different ball game.
Yeah. But I think it's just something to like, as we're talking about, and I'm not anti-label either, just FYI. I just like, don't think it's for everybody. But that's something you got to figure out on your own. Like, you just got to figure out what's for you and what's not. Because one big thing though that I'm very pro is like, having an understanding of like all the business. And I'm just somebody who is not like, okay, like I'm just going to do the art stuff. You guys handle the rest. You know what I mean? I'm like hands-on with everything because I would go, like, where do you stand? Do you find yourself like, well, since you're DIY, you pretty much are hands-on.
Dude, it is, yeah. All like operation-wise, it is, I'm truly doing everything. And I'm just my own manager and whatever at this point. And that's not by choice so much as like, that's just kind of what it is. And that's a means to an end right now. So I think it is necessary to learn how everything works, how to get your music on the internet, you know, how to make it look the way you want it to look and that kind of thing. And not to get like too deep or whatever, but to me, that stuff is almost like part of the art, like how you're presented and how you show up and how you run your operation. Like that's like, it just reflects on who you are as an artist. People aren't going to like just listen to the music and think like, oh, I can ignore every other aspect of what I see and hear about this person, but I'll like only judge them on like this recording.
Because at that point you're creating almost a full experience where it's like, you know, the release of the art, like, and it's so like your visuals are really dope. You know what I mean?
You, man.
Where it's like my favorite one, like the Holes in Our Story one is insane, but it's like, it makes you feel something.
Thank you. You're probably talking about the Break Some Ice video.
Yeah.
That was the lead single off the Holes in Our Stories album. And that big shout out to Brian Petchers who directed that. We did that like really scrappy. And I know you know all about this grind. I'm sure you got stories for days, but it was like a absolutely manic, like 3-day shoot where we booked a cinematographer for 3 days. And we were just like nonstop, like shooting 24/7 with like so many actors involved and a school bus from my high school involved and just absurd things.
Yeah, how does one pull all that off though? Like, did you just a lot of phone calls?
You know, bro, you know. Yeah, you just got to go into crazy mode and just make it happen. So my whole thing was like, I don't have money to do this the right way, so I need to like be the producer on this video and just go absolutely crazy. And my girlfriend at the time too was producing these videos, and the two of us would just like go all in terms of, all our time and energy. And the walls in my apartment we put paper up on them. So you could see, if you watch the Break Some Ice music video, you'll see the scenes where I'm rapping in front of the paper wall. That's my favorite scene. And it was like, we built a set. And to you, that's also like, that's just in a day's work. But for me as an artist, that's kind of the only way I could get it done. Nobody's going to like build that for me.
Yeah. But you got to do all this stuff yourself, dude. Cause you seem like someone who's very self-motivated.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think you have to be in this game because, you know, especially when you have a vision like that, like it only happens if you make it happen. And there's so many moving parts, but like it's probably, and I know it's rewarding because I've dealt with it, like, but it's so rewarding when you take an idea and it's like, yo, we did it. Here it is. It exists.
Completely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And to even talk to the scrappiness, dude, I mean, like right now my studio is being built and we're in a holiday wonderland.
It's a wonderful time.
Yeah, dude. The Christmas episode, dude, which I hope comes out before Christmas. I don't know how. See, that we'll figure this out.
This is hilarious, bro.
But
hilarious.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm kind of zoned in. I've like forgotten that
we're
there's
in a winter
lit up
wonderland,
deer around
dude.
us.
But yeah, no. So I want to talk to you about some advice that you'd give to an artist on the come up.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it. Just like raw, just some advice?
Yeah, like, well, or maybe like advice that you wish you had earlier on or something that you would have known or something that like you learned in your career that like you hold with you today.
Yeah. Oh man, so many things. I don't even know where to begin, but yeah, I feel like I've like, just like every artist, like you kind of learn things the hard way, like something goes wrong or goes right. And when you actually experience it, I would say maybe some advice is like, it's important to just take as much care with your music as possible. Like we talked about, you never want to put out something that you don't stand by just in case it blows up or like something, I might want to take that down later or something like that. Like, I don't know. That stuff has never served me that well. So I'd say that. And then I think just like being intentional about everything, you know? Is the more you can kind of really think of like, this is what I want to do. This is what I would love for my days to be like. That sort of thinking has helped me figure out how to move forward sometimes. But I think biggest thing, man, I would just say is like listening to your gut. And a lot of times I'll procrastinate listening to my gut almost and spend like a month fiddling around with like some, situation. And then I just come back and I'm like, man, I should have just done what I knew like before I even got into this.
Yeah, no, it is really good advice too.
Yeah.
Dylan, you know what I want to know? Because
What?
there's no way you've had a career as long as yours and don't have like a crazy out of pocket story from something that's happened along the journey. Something that's like maybe a touring one, or maybe like, I don't know, something that comes to mind.
I got stories for days, dude.
Tell me one. Yeah, tell me a crazy one, dude. That like something that we wouldn't know about you.
Okay, so yeah, something you wouldn't know. I'll tell you this story. Do you know who Ryan Leslie is?
Is he a writer, songwriter?
A songwriter, producer, artist. He's like a legendary.
That's what I'm saying, like
legendary guy
yeah.
in the hip hop and R&B space, and made that song with Ciara that was huge in the early 2000s. So,
was
You and I, or You and Me?
okay? Yeah.
Butchering it on the spot here, but so I have a friend who works with him and is a co-founder of his company called Superphone that he worked on. And it's like a phone where artists can reach out to their people. And this is just, I guess, a weird story about like people you wouldn't think would ever end up in the same room together or something. So I was living in New York City. He hits me up and is like, dude, I'm at Ryan Leslie's crib right now. Do you want to come over and just hang out? And I was like, absolutely. That'd be insane to meet him. So I'm in Ryan Leslie's apartment, and this story also would hold more weight if you knew his context, but he's like a genius. Went to Harvard, young, graduated.
Dude, I recognize the name, like, so I definitely know of him.
He's like a savant level, super genius kind of guy, and music-wise and business-wise. And so I'm there hanging out in his apartment with a few guys who work in the tech world, and they're talking about augmented reality, like the Pokemon Go app.
Okay.
When things interact with your real physical environment, but it's virtual. So they're like talking about this crazy futuristic tech stuff, and it was like blowing my mind. And then we sat down and I played him my song Ghosts and the music video for it. And I was so nervous. I mean, I'm like playing Ryan Leslie a song, and I'm like, this little kid kind of in his mind, I imagine. So I don't know how he's going to react. And he's like very thoughtful with how he speaks. You could watch him on like Drink Champs or something. And he turns around and just looks at me, and he had a piano to his left, and he just turns to the piano and starts playing the riff of the song, like one shot. Not
Insane,
even,
dude.
Yeah, like not even like, oh, let me fiddle around and find it, just like playing the riff. And if you listen to Ghosts, it's not like the riff is crazy complicated, but it's like a two-handed piano riff.
Insane,
so just from
dude.
hearing it, it's just like, and then plays it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's some of the people you meet in the industry are just like, you just never know. And like, what are some of the do you know some more records that Ryan's like worked on?
We should pull them up. You could see a crazy list.
Yeah,
you would know. You'd recognize so many.
Dude, I need to get a producer, dude.
Yeah.
That would be sick. Hold
That
on.
would be great.
Give me a second.
All good.
I want to give Ryan Leslie his proper flowers right now.
Yeah,
because I recognize,
we should.
I recognize the name. Let me see. Let's go discography. We're almost there, guys. Boom. We're there. All right, we're on the Wikipedia now. We're getting somewhere.
Go.
All right. Let's go. All right. Oh yeah, I see Fabulous. Well, this is 2007. There's so many, dude. Kanye, Swizz Beatz, Rick Ross.
Yeah, he was like telling us stories about Kanye.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah.
He's just like mad casual, dude.
Very casual. Yeah, he'd be like, yeah, he says this, says that. Like, this is insane.
You play him Ghost, he's like, yo, it's funny. Kids see Ghost, dude. I don't know, dude.
Dude, yeah.
I'm calling conspiracy theory,
Oh,
dude.
man. All right, other crazy stories. I mean, I have so many for you. If you kind of give me a like direction, I could probably narrow it down.
You have a crazy tour story? Those are always fun,
Crazy
dude.
tour story. I think more of just things that people would be like, wow, that's just so, they wouldn't expect that. I mean, crazy tour story. I had a show opening for Skizzy Mars and then a rapper who was very new at the time named Logic. And this is down in Washington, D.C. And my DJ for the show dropped out the day before. So I took a bus down there just by myself, and I was like, I'm just going to meet a DJ on campus, which is an insane thing to think.
It's an insane concept,
Yeah,
dude.
so I get there and met like Logic's manager, Chris, at the time, and and also talked with Logic a bit, and he's very friendly. And this was one of his first few shows, I remember too, because we had, at that time, a guy he works with on videos was like doing some of my videos. And my point is, Skizzy Mars's DJ was just like, dude, I'll DJ for you, whatever. Not that epic of a story, but it was kind of a crazy, scrappy situation. And it's also, now it's wild to think, like, I played with Logic in front of like 30 people at George Washington University.
That's crazy. I wonder if we were to ask Logic, like, he probably would remember it, dude.
He'd probably remember the show. I don't know if he'd remember me. He was like, yo, I'll check you out. But I don't know if he did.
Yeah, he seems like a real good dude. I know people that work with him, they only say like good things about him.
Yep.
But, you know, another person that, like a mutual, probably you're closer with him than I am, but John Kilmer. You were talking about videos. So, how did you end up connecting with Kilmer, dude?
So at the Mac Miller show, it kind of all comes back around to the Mac Miller show. John Kilmer came up. My manager was like, hey, this guy's really good at video work. You should get him to do like a promo video of you performing your song, The Book Report, at the Mac Miller show. So I hired John Kilmer. I think it was like the first time that I had paid money for any kind of video work. I had one music video before that, but that was like purely a friend relationship kind of thing.
Scrappy, dude.
Scrappy. I mean, it actually came out very cool. It's a video, Old Armor. But so this one, Kilmer came up, met him for the first time, and then we became friends through that, and that was great. And that video was so cool to me to like see myself in. This is the era of like, if you're shooting on a DSLR, it's amazing. Like just, oh my God, this person shot with a high res camera. So yeah, it was so cool. I was so excited about that and had a good time with it. And then he ended up, I did that contest that he did back in the day.
I remember.
Yeah, it was like, oh, if you rap over this beat that I produced, John Kilmer, this is him speaking in my words. If you rap over this beat I produced and you do the best job, I'll do a free music video for you. And I didn't have any money to pay for videos or anything. I wasn't even considering doing music videos ever, besides like this little promo thing. So I won this contest, Sheeps, Jeeps, and Beats, it's called. It's still up on my YouTube channel. You can watch it's called All I Do. It's like rapping over the Wii Sports sample. And it was something I truly wrote in like an hour. I remember writing it and being like, this is due tomorrow. I need to write it, go to my buddy's dorm room, record it, and record the video in real time. So my buddy, Tom Flynn, came to do the video for me, and I didn't even have the lyrics of it memorized yet. So in some of it, I'm like hiding my mouth behind the microphone because I don't want them to see that I'm like not going to be able to be synced up. Like it was that rushed and last minute, but it worked out, and somehow we just pulled it off. And you could see in the video, I'm like dripping in sweat and everything. And then he did my video for In the Corner with Kinetics.
And that ended up being a huge one for you, dude.
Yeah, dude, I have a crazy story about how I met Kinetics. So that became a big one for me. And me and Kinetics didn't know each other yet at the time personally, but we became very good friends through that. So that's cool. But when I was a freshman in college, I knew who Kinetics was. He had already graduated at this time because they had written Airplanes.
Yeah,
Kinetics and One Love. If people don't know, yeah. So they wrote this huge song, Airplanes, and it was originally, they had their version out on their own tape. But yeah, later.
I didn't even know that they had a version of it out. I didn't know that they wrote it though. That's crazy.
I think you could still find it on YouTube.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that Kinetics comes and knocks on my dorm room door, right? I'm a freshman in college. And he's like, I don't know, 5 years older than me or something. And I see him and I'm like, oh my God, this Kinetics, he must be here because he heard that I'm a rapper. So he's like, he's here to meet me or something. And I'm just like, dude, what's going on? And he's like, yo, my name is Kinetics. And
what an incredible Kinetics impersonation, dude.
Oh, yeah, I got you on that, dude. Too easy. And he's like, man, this used to be my old room when I went here to college.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I was like, dude, because I actually know who you are, and I'm an artist too. And I had my CD Senioritis with me that has the song The Book Report on it. I gave him that CD, and I was like, man, on the way home, listen to this. That's insane that you lived in this room. And One Love, it was either One Love or a producer that we were friends with lived in the room next to us where my best buddy Kia lived. So it was like, Kinetics lived there. The producer lived right there. Like it was like a really weird coincidence. So I give him the CD, and then they listened to it on the way back to New York City, and he tweeted at me and was like, this is dope, reminds me of Atmosphere or something like that. And yeah, we became friends through that. So that moment changed my life and is also just like a weird coincidence.
Yeah, that
just
is
like
great.
weird.
Yeah, that is
feels serendipitous.
Dude, well, I'm not like a big conspiracy theorist, and I'm not someone who believes in the simulation theory, but you hear things like that, and I'm like, yo, exactly 12 years ago we met? Like,
yeah.
No, I don't know. Sometimes the world just works in funny ways, and things are just in more sync than you think they are.
Completely.
So you guys connect. At what point do you guys go cook up in the corner?
Well, I wasn't even like recording myself at this time. So I was like, man, I want to get you on this track. And then I realized he recorded at home with One Love. I think they lived together in the city down in the financial district. And they were like, yeah, you could come through and just record your vocals here. And that was the first time we like just straight up hung out. And that was great. And I recorded, and One Love even mixed the song for me. So through that, we kind of became friendly. And then, it started like doing shows together, whatever. And then at some point we transitioned into just like reviewing rap albums each week with a group of other rappers and just being like really, really tight. So yeah, it led to like a genuine friendship, which is dope.
Yeah. And something that I like about your process, even with just like the contest, like upload, is that like how on the fly, because I think today, like sometimes you get lost where it's like you have to upload it 12 days before, you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? The way the system works for like getting into the algorithms and all that, like there's so many rules where it's like, what happened to just like putting it together and throwing it up? Because the people consume things. That's just because the algorithms work this way. That's not necessarily how people always consume things.
I feel like back then it was more about showing people, and maybe it's just the platform switch, not so much like back then, right?
Yeah.
But it was more about showing a viewer this thing. I want you to watch my video, so I'm going to upload it on YouTube. Now it almost feels like people upload things for the algorithm. Like I hope the algorithm serves me on this upload. Back then it was like, there was no thought about an algorithm. That wasn't a word people were like using really.
And I feel like, and I'm guilty of it too, because I've definitely posted things that I like would think perform better. You know what I mean? And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it's like, how do you think that's affected art just in general too? Like, I guess
it has messed with my head. I'll definitely say that. Yeah, it's or just kind of like confused me sometimes. Like I'm like, man, I feel like there's a way to think about this that's probably more strategic, and I just don't, sometimes don't know. And I think some of it is kind of common sense. Like maybe you don't want to post something that's just like strictly text or whatever. And I don't know, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, what I try to let go beyond that and take precedent is like what I want to get across. If it's like, hey, I want people to know about this thing. And it's like, I don't care. And dude, in my mind, my stuff has never gotten a lot of like likes or comments or anything. So I don't care. I'm never expecting much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you see next for yourself?
So right now I'm working on this series of 4 little mixtapes, and I'm doing short things because I want to kind of have like a fresh start where I can experiment with my sound and let new people discover me more. So I'm doing these 4 little mixtapes. Each one of them is going to have like 4 or 5 songs on them. I'm dropping them on cassette tape.
Oh, that's dope.
Thank you, man. And I put out the first one. It's called Do Before You Die. My initials are D.O. And you said once upon a time, I don't know if you remember, but you said to me, yo, man, if my name was Dylan Owen, I'd be going crazy with the D.O. branding.
Really?
And that's always stuck with me.
Let's go. Fucking shout. Dude, I think I got like long COVID or something. My memory is so cooked, dude.
Dude, that always stuck with me because I've always had that thought too. And back in high school, when I was like a child, I used to have shirts that said do work, D.O. work.
Bro, yeah. I mean, it is fire, dude. I'm happy because you know what? We've had a bunch of like, even though we haven't seen each other a lot, we have had a lot of conversations throughout the year too.
Yeah, we FaceTimed and all that.
It's also good to see you like connecting with other Dylan Squared, dude.
Yep, for sure, man. Yeah, shout out Dylan Reese. We're touring together on this run.
Matter of fact, I can't shout out Dylan Reese. He gets too much love on this podcast.
Okay. Repealed the shout out.
Yeah, thank you, dude. Yeah. But yeah, he's a good dude, I guess.
It's such a small world, man. And
yeah.
Yeah, and me and him too have like so many stories of crazy things that intersect and whatever. So yeah, fast forward to now, 2024 going into 2025. I'm dropping the series of 4 mixtapes. I want to get a lot of collabs on them because I want to genuinely like expand what I'm doing. I feel like I've written a lot of raps at this point in my life. I want to push it to another level of creativity. I want to feel challenged. So I think bringing other rappers in is something I haven't done nearly enough.
Yeah.
So that's actually something, bro, at some point I would love to, maybe you could link me with
Dude,
some people
you know what's
who'd be
funny?
good.
I would love to, dude, because I think that's like somewhere where I could like, sometimes I like just connecting the dots and just seeing whatever happens, you know, because you just never know what happens. Like when you connect two people, like all of a sudden, you know, one song could turn to an album, could turn to a tour, could turn into a like, so I'm always happy to do that too. And like,
yeah, man.
And I think there's like, collabing is just such a good way to grow too. And just get, I mean, I've learned like with this 50 states thing I'm doing, it's like just collab, like it just makes your network just so much bigger. And it's like when you try to make things happen, it's like you got this like weird artist family that you can just like rely on.
Definitely.
You know, and it's like, that's one thing I really love. And I don't know, maybe we could talk on this before we get out of here. Like, I don't know if anything's changed, but I feel like, and maybe we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but maybe we're just getting older. But I just feel like there's like a lot of love, like and support from other artists. Where like
I feel that way now too.
I don't know if it was like the opposite, or maybe we're just young and naive, and like I don't know. But
no, I think something has changed. I do think something has changed, and I think it has to do with how much the algorithm has like kind of screwed everyone. I think everyone is like, man, it is so hard to reach people. And people see that like the real enemies are not other artists and other creatives. Like those are your allies. The enemies in that situation are like, yeah, the algorithm or some big corporation that it's just, there's not that much money in indie hip hop.
Yeah. And it is tricky too. And it's hard, like, because it can be incredibly discouraging, you know, like, especially when you put your heart and soul into a project and you're like, damn it, dude, this didn't land exactly where, but you're always better for doing it. And for all you, sometimes it's not how many people, it's who sees it, right?
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, right now, I feel like I have a fan family that's, to me, I'm so proud of. And like, that's what keeps me going. And just energy wise and focus wise and everything. And there's this dude, Ryan, who he's like a fan, but yeah, at this point, a friend, and he's been to a bunch of shows of mine, and he collects every single thing that I put out, and he'll track down like a rare eBay sale of like one of my old EPs or something. And
that's fire.
There was like a fan I met the other night, or not met, I have met her a few times, but she was at the show in Greenfield, and she's like, yeah, I couldn't find a copy of your old EP, How to Stay Young. Ryan found it for me on eBay and then mailed it to me. So he's just like a genius collector, archivist kind of guy.
Yeah, that's fun. Dude, I also like, it's funny when you're talking about stuff like that and old, you know, Dylan Owen merch. I still have my bracelet, but not only do I have the bracelet,
let's go, dude.
I have somewhere in my studio, which we'll go check out briefly after this, or like the studio process, there is a Dylan Owen signed poster from that Webster Hall show, dude.
Dude, I don't even know what that would look like.
It's the flyer, dude. It's probably one of the first signed posters I ever got, dude.
Wow.
But I still have it.
I don't even remember the flyer for that show, so I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, no,
that's
it'll be a fun trip down memory lane. But you know, pulling this to the end zone, dude. If you had one message to the world, like you want something to take away from Dylan Owen, what is it, dude?
I hope that the music can genuinely help people, make people feel understood or uplifted. I think of my music as like, I try to make it radically empathetic because that's what I want when I hear a song I love. I want to feel like this artist gets me and I get them and I relate to what they're going through. So that to me is the goal with music always. And I'll be happy at the end of the day if I've done that.
And I think you have, dude. You know, even last night when I'm seeing you perform, dude, I'm getting goosebumps because like,
thanks, man.
And if anyone's listening, and I don't know when they're listening, this could be any time throughout time, I guess, technically. But you need to immediately go see if Dylan Owen's on tour because you got to go. Man. Yeah, bro, your live performance is so fucking sick.
Thank you, man.
Dude, I got goosebumps, dude.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was cool performing in front of you. It's been so long. So
yeah, I mean, the last time I think we may have seen each other in between then, but I think that low key might be the last
That was the last time for sure. And dude, me touring a lot I guess that's another thing I want to mention. That's a pretty new thing. Like 1 year ago now, I hadn't played a show in like 2 years. And a big hack for me was being able to figure out how to DJ for myself. So that's what I do now.
Dude,
it's
I
like,
wanted to talk.
It's a one man.
We could keep going.
We could
forever,
go all
dude.
day. It's a one man show now, and I'm just embracing the like what my roots are. Like I started out playing in open mics and coffee shops for like literally one dude who has no idea who I am or something, you know, and he's never heard a hip hop song. And it's like I'm back to that. Like I don't care who's there or if anyone's there or if a lot of people are, like as long as I'm giving my fans in that area a chance to see me and a chance to say what's up, that I'm back to it.
Yeah, and you put it all out there, dude. I remember because I remember, you know, you doing the DJ yourself, whatever that contraption box is, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, this is the coolest thing here. Because
Thanks,
I see
man.
you like talking and you're able to loop it and like keep going. And then you cut it out yourself. I was like, yo, his timing is impeccable,
Oh,
dude.
thanks,
like,
bro.
So,
Thank you.
I mean, it's very obvious that you've practiced and rehearsed it like a lot to the point where like you really can't, with everything that you do.
Thank you, man.
You feel
Thank
the
you so
care
much.
throughout the whole process, dude.
I'm glad, man.
But
thank you.
If people want to connect with you or find you, dude, how could they?
Dude, been doing it long enough that every social site at Dylan Owen Music, you can find me there.
Let's go. It's very rare.
I don't think there's a single place you can't find that.
Dude, I'm still struggling. There's another Mike Squires that's a guitar player. There's another Mike Squires that's a magician.
We gotta take
dude.
him down. Yeah.
Magician's a dickhead, dude.
man.
I'll say it on the air, dude. You fucking mad mean, dude. I was like, damn, not a fellow Mike Squires being rude, dude. But yeah, dude. Well, thank you for coming on the pod. Thank you for joining me in this winter wonderland, dude.
Dude, thanks for having me. This was awesome.
Let's go, dude.